Before the ANC took over the country in 1994, South Africa used to have a tremendously good relationship with Taiwan. During the 80s, we were one of the only powerful states in the world to recognize Taiwan's independence, a recognition which Nelson Mandela revoked in 1997 to please his communist allies in Beijing. Yet now in 2026, as the diplomatic relations between Taiwan and South Africa continue to go from bad to worse, the Taiwanese government is exploring alternative avenues of diplomacy specifically directed at the Afrikaner people. Stay tuned, because in today's video we are going to highlight a recent diplomatic development which could be of immense value in our people's fight for freedom going forward. The history of the nation that is officially known as the Republic of China, more affectionately as Taiwan, actually began not on the island of Taiwan itself, but on the Chinese mainland back in 1912. This was the year in which the Republic of China was first officially proclaimed in the city of Nanjing. This officially ended more than 2,000 years of imperial China rule in China, when the child emperor Puyi abdicated after several provinces declared independence from the imperial government and joined the new Republic of China. And so the Republic of China, the official name of Taiwan, was actually born on the Chinese mainland without even initially including any of the territory of the island of Taiwan which they occupy today. All of this is because although Taiwan was historically part of China, it had lost control over the island in 1895 when the Japanese army defeated the Chinese in the First Sino-Japanese War. Japan would fully govern the island of Taiwan until it surrendered as part of the Axis forces at the conclusion of the Second World War in 1945. At that time, China's head of state was Chiang Kai-shek, who now ruled over both Taiwan as well as the Chinese mainland as the Unified Republic of China. However, since the Bolshevik communist revolution in Russia, there had been a very strong communist presence in China as well, and this communist opposition was continually looking for ways to get into power in the country. There were many communist insurgencies since the start of the 20th century, but when China suffered an economic crisis shortly after the Second World War, they grabbed the opportunity to get to power, and civil war erupted on the Chinese mainland. Mao Zedong's communists gradually gained the upper hand in this war, overthrew the government, and formally established the People's Republic of China as a communist state in Beijing on the 1st of October 1949. Chiang Kai-shek and his government of the Republic of China consequently withdrew to the island of Taiwan. It was a territory that was already controlled by his government, and being separated from the mainland by about 150 kilometers of sea would be very difficult to conquer by a communist army which lacked any experience in naval operations. Furthermore, it already had an established local government as well as well-developed infrastructure, largely thanks to half a century of Japanese rule, making the infrastructure on this island much better than the rest of mainland China in general. Chiang Kai-shek had contemplated his escape plan in advance, and a year before the communists took over the power in China, he transferred a lot of his gold reserves to the island, official records, artworks, military equipment, and government personnel as well. The people who lived on the island were also ethnically Chinese, but culturally much closer to the Japanese than the Chinese people on the mainland. So interestingly, they never officially founded or declared a new republic on Taiwan. They are just a continuation of the old republic before the communists took over on mainland China. The government that retreated there in 1949 claimed to be the same Republic of China founded on the mainland in 1912. It simply moved its seat of government from the mainland to the city of Taipei. Sadly, however, the majority of countries around the world now recognize the communist government in Beijing as the only legitimate seat of the Chinese state. In 1971, the United Nations also passed a resolution on so-called restoration of the lawful rights of the People's Republic of China in the United Nations. According to this, China's full membership in the UN was confirmed and Taiwan was officially expelled. Taiwan has remained excluded from the United Nations ever since. After Taiwan was kicked out of the United Nations, almost all UN members severed formal ties with Taiwan. And even the United States itself dropped its formal recognition of Taiwan as an independent state in 1979. One of the only countries that continued to recognize Taiwanese statehood throughout the 1980s and early 90s was South Africa under the National Party. Now, this recognition was, however, revoked by the government of Nelson Mandela in 1997. Today, only 11 of the 193 UN member states officially recognize Taiwan. And of these 11, the majority are small island nations in the Pacific Ocean or the Caribbean, with the only one of the 54 African countries that recognize its statehood being the tiny kingdom of Swaziland or Eswatini, right next door to South Africa. Relations between South Africa and Taiwan have continued to deteriorate in recent years, with the government formally instructing Taiwan in October 2024 to remove its Taipei liaison office from Pretoria. None of the world's major powers recognize Taiwan as an independent country, and yet the world fully openly recognizes that Taiwan plays an absolutely brutally indispensable role in the global economy. This is because Taiwan absolutely dominates the production of most of the world's most advanced semiconductors or computer chips. The tiny chips required for smartphones, computers, vehicles, telecommunications, AI, and advanced weapons. A serious interruption in Taiwan's chip production could consequently shut down industries across the world, disrupt global supply chains, and cause enormous economic losses for every single country on the planet. Taiwan's semiconductor industry plays a major role in shielding the country from attacks by China or from sanctions by China's allies, and what is particularly telling is that this week Taiwan's government made its first official diplomatic visit to the Afrikaner settlement of Orania, sending 2 official diplomats to start finding common ground and reignite the historic friendship between the Afrikaner and the Taiwanese people that existed before 1994. This visit, which was largely the result of diplomatic contracts established by the Freedom Front Plus parliamentarian Dr. Wynand Boshoff, included formal discussions between the Taiwanese delegates and the Oranian Representative Council, with the hope being that these relations can not only help strengthen Orania, but the Afrikaner people's broader fight for freedom and self-determination as a whole. We share so much common ground with the people of Taiwan, and although our contexts and cultures differ greatly, we essentially fight the very same battle against tyranny and oppression. And this is the fight we also dedicate ourselves to here at the Willem Petzer Group. This is the fight every follower of this channel is part of. And you can take your participation in this fight to the next level by becoming a patron of the Willem Petzer Group. Simply follow the easy steps on this banner below me to become a patron and help us succeed on this channel. In a recent video, we highlighted that in the midst of the standoff between the United States and the government of Cyril Ramaphosa, Taiwan is also considering joining this trade war, something which could have devastating consequences for the South African economy. You can check out that full analysis by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right here. We truly believe you will benefit greatly from the information we share there. Thanks for tuning in today and watching this video all the way to the end. We sincerely appreciate the gift of your time. Goodbye and God bless.